few ways to stay in touch and support. Well, that was not supposed to be the intro, but what is going on, my friends? Today, we are going to talk about Matt Gaetz getting viciously smeared by the press, why it's happening. We're going to talk about Doug Burgum just got appointed to one of the most important energy positions in the country, why I don't feel too great about that. And then later in the show, at any random point while you're watching this, G. Edward Griffin could pop right in and he's going to have a conversation with us. That's exciting. G. Edward Griffin's one of my favorite guests, and I'm curious to see what he thinks about all this stuff to get his perspective, because I have literally no idea. So Dream Rare Podcast starts now. Welcome to the show, folks. It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. What's going on YouTube? What's going on Facebook? What's going on Rumble? We got Giovanna, Kelsey, Abnormally, Hoppin' Cloppin'. I just made that up. It just sounded cooler than your name. Sorry. Mora, HGHC, May the Salt Flow. Jesus Delivers. All right. So let's get it started. And like I said, folks, sorry about the intro. I just meant to put that as the outro. G. Edward Griffin will be joining the show at some point. So he's going to drop in, chat with us for 20 minutes. Then he has an event that he's working on that he'll tell you about. But while we're starting, I just want to play this clip real quick because Donald Trump just appointed Doug Burgum to the Interior, something Secretary to the Interior. And he said that he created a new position for him that's some sort of energy council. They worded it very bizarrely, like they're doing something slightly different than normal, but it is one of the top energy positions in the country. And here's the little video I made about it that's just super clear and super concise. So we'll watch it real quick. So Donald Trump just appointed Doug Burgum to a high-level cabinet energy position, and here's what most media won't tell you. Running for governor of North Dakota took a $100,000 donation from Bill Gates and proudly posts Facebook selfies with his buddy. Here's my first question. To win a deep red seat in a Republican state that's always going to choose a Republican, why do you have to take Bill Gates' donor money? Seems a little odd. What's also odd is a lot of residents were outraged that just 2 years ago, Bill Gates bought a massive amount of farmland in the state with a controversial ruling that almost saw the purchase blocked, but the Attorney General gave him the green light. Personally, this doesn't seem like a coincidence to me. Hopefully he does a good job, but when someone takes donor money from a person whose worldview is nearly the complete opposite of MAGA, people should pay attention. And just a bonus, Bill Gates said that Trump offered him a position in the White House in his last administration and he declined. If you like Trump, just keep an eye on what they're doing. God bless you. Thanks for listening. Have a good day. So I made that video real quick because I've been on to Doug Burgum for a while. I'm not like a big fan of his. I mean, no offense. He's boring. He's lame. He's a rhino. He's establishment. But for some reason, he used his leverage to cozy up to Donald Trump and get a massive position when it comes to energy. Here's the first thing that I'll say. North Dakota is one of the most Republican states in the country. Pretty much any Republican that runs is going to win. I would say you don't even need that big of a budget to win in North Dakota. You obviously don't want to lose to a Democrat or anything, but there's really no excuse to take $100,000 from Bill Gates. I don't, maybe some people think I'm being too harsh or they don't care because Trump, I'm not really sure what people think, but this is not only my opinion. I think it's pretty just the reality of the situation. You don't need to take Bill Gates donor money to win a seat or a governorship in North Dakota. But what the Republican Party does, and what hopefully will change here in the future with people paying attention more, is they know that nobody pays attention, especially in some of the deep red states. They just think Democrats bad, Republicans good, or they're just so busy. I've never been to North Dakota. I'm sure it's cold a lot of the year. People work hard, and I'm sure there's great families and people there. But, I don't know how involved people are in the politics there, so they just prefer red over blue. With that being said, if you look at the report that I just did, I did a little deep dive on it. After Doug Burgum got into office, of course, he took a Bill Gates donation, was chatting with him, took a picture of them, a little selfie, put it on Facebook. Cool. There was a massive kind of controversial scandal in North Dakota because there actually is some sort of Great Depression era law against a massive corporate overhaul of farmland. So a lot of people in North Dakota did not want Bill Gates, let alone any mega company, to buy that much farmland from the people of North Dakota or whoever they were buying it from. And a lot of people thought that it shouldn't have passed because there actually was some sort of law that could have blocked it. But the attorney general, it went all the way to his office, and the attorney general greenlighted it and sold the land in North Dakota to Bill Gates. Without being too long-winded on this topic, because I have more to talk about, and G.O. Griffin will be here. I don't think it's a coincidence that the governor takes $100,000. Then all of a sudden, Bill Gates gets this controversial land deal in North Dakota. Not only do I not think that's a coincidence, but I don't want that person near agriculture, energy at all. I don't, out of all the Republicans in our country, that person shows me that he's compromised. I mean, he can't even run for office without taking money from Bill Gates. And as I said in my little short before I play my next clip, Bill Gates, God bless the guy, but has almost the exact opposite agenda of what most Trump supporters want. Like his ideology when it comes to food and pharmaceuticals and intervening and population and, everything that Bill Gates thinks is very different from MAGA. And even Elon Musk constantly challenges him on the population question because Elon says that we're going to face a population collapse, meaning like we're not having enough babies. And of course, if you listen to Bill Gates and similar science people like him, they're constantly talking about the other side of that coin, which is hard to even talk about on social media because they constantly censor you and accuse you of conspiracy theories when you literally just speak the reality of the situation. I mean, some people exaggerate, but for the most part, that's what it is. So, I can't possibly trust Doug Burgum less. This is the problem with the Republican Party, and I hope people start to pay attention and kind of get more involved and just be more vocal about it because they get away with this stuff because no one pays attention. They take over deep red states. You should get the most based, most awesome, most conservative person in the country because you could do anything. Yet you hire somebody working with Bill Gates and no one seems to notice. And then Trump hires him. I don't think it's a coincidence. I'm not thrilled with the pick. I'm not going to cry about it forever, but I will do citizen journalism to see what's going on there. On another note, before I get into something else, and perhaps I'll do it at a different point in this live stream, I want to show you the Instagram reel I made this morning, or I actually made it yesterday and put it up this morning, about Matt Gaetz because they're viciously smearing him in the press. Meghan McCain, John Bolton, and a lot of Jewish organizations are calling him anti-Semitic, despite the fact that he's pro-Israel, and I'm pretty sure has probably traveled to Israel. Most Republicans do. He is considered anti-Semitic because he's not taking AIPAC lobbying money, and he's also accurately saying that the anti-Semitism bills that Republicans and Democrats are passing throughout the country, Matt Gaetz has pointed out that it is not only against the First Amendment, but it's actually an anti-Christian definition because it makes part of the Bible considered anti-Semitic. So even the most Zionist Schofield Bible reading Christians need to figure out what their religion is, because if you believe that your religion is to worship the people that don't believe in Christ, I don't think that's Christianity. And if you believe that in America, you're supposed to pass a speech law that says that your own Bible is anti-Semitic, you're just an idiot. It has nothing to do with your pastor tricked you or, the Republic, like you're dumb. Like, no, why would a Christian want a bill that puts the Bible as an anti-Semitic and certain chapters? Like, how do you square that one? You literally have to create a new religion where you worship people who don't even like Christ. Like, it doesn't even make sense. And I'm not trying to judge this and that. There's Islamic, there's Jewish, there's Christian. God bless everybody. There's Hindu. But it's like, what type of Christian? Imagine if Muslims were like, our new religion is we worship people who reject Allah. Like, it would be like ridiculous. But only somehow American Christians and dispensationalists have been tricked into that new religion, which is not even a religion worshiping Christ, but it's worshiping the people who completely reject him. And people in my comments being like, no, these are good speech laws because we have to protect our greatest ally. You want a speech law in America that says that your religious text is hate speech? You're an idiot. You deserve to be conquered at that point. You deserve to lose the culture battle. But let's get into it because I pointed it out pretty clear here, and they're coming at Matt Gaetz. Unsurprisingly, they'll come at any American who doesn't sell out. This is their kind of bully negotiation tactic. They just try to shame you and, low-key threaten you in some ways until you capitulate. And then they say they're just policing hate speech, but everybody's catching on to what they're doing.
Matt Gaetz to run the Department of Justice. What was your immediate reaction when you heard that? Well, it must be the worst nomination for a cabinet position in American history.
Well, that there's one of the worst warmongers in American history, John Bolton, so we must be getting somewhere good. Adam Schiff is upset, Meghan McCain is upset, and the head of the Anti-Defamation League and other Jewish groups are calling Matt Gaetz anti-Semitic. One of the reasons being cited is that he stood by the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution over a hate speech law that was being passed in America under the guise of anti-Semitism, which Matt realized as a Christian would make part of the Bible and biblical discussion officially defined as anti-Semitic. Something that weirdly so many Christians don't seem to realize because they've been brainwashed for decades by false opposition conservatives and compromised pastors. But anyway, Matt Gaetz, interestingly enough, is one of the very few politicians in the Republican Party who is not taking money from the lobbying group AIPAC, Thomas Massie being another prominent one. So I say good luck to Matt Gaetz, and Republicans especially, Democrats too, but Republicans really need to remember that you too will be smeared as anti-Semitic if you ever side with the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution over a hate speech law that's already been passed in dozens of parts of our country that carves out special thought crimes and speech crimes for one race, one religion, and one foreign country. God bless you. Have a beautiful day. All right, well, we got G. Edward Griffin here. He came in right now. Can you hear me, brother?
I can, indeed.
Thanks
Yes.
for coming. Yeah, just let me know how you're doing, and also you could let the people know what you got going on this weekend. I know it's a big day for you.
Oh, it's a very big day, yes. Well, first of all, I apologize. I understand you were looking around for me a little earlier, and I completely dumped the time schedule. I was working on some stuff for the expo that starts tomorrow. And then I got in traffic, and I swear I hit every red light between here and there, and I think they put up 2 or 3 of them just for my trip. Anyway, so here I am, and thanks for your patience.
Oh,
So
no,
what's
no rush. No rush at all. I guess, on that note, I mean, we could talk about the Red Pill Expo. Before I play a clip, if you want to let people know what you're doing and just give it a little promo, because I support everything you're doing. And yeah, we're always glad to have you here.
Well, I appreciate that. That's really great. We are doing big things. We've done this Red Pill Expo since 2017. It was our first one. And they've just been getting better and better and better. But this last time, we realized that not only were a lot of people spooked by the elections, and they were hesitant to go out and make a plane reservation and go to Tulsa, Oklahoma, for fear there might be all kinds of civil disorder, and they couldn't get back home. So we thought, well, all right, this is a time to unleash our secret plan, which we always had in the back of our head. We wanted to go live stream so we could reach out to the real large audience. I love personal meetings because you meet people, you get to make friends, you bond with them, you lay strategies, and things happen. It's really good. And that you can't do that on the internet. But on the other hand, you can't reach the world. We've got to turn this bloody thing around soon. So we've always known we've had to break loose from the physical meetings and go totally live stream. So we did it this time. Now we're neophytes at doing that. Of course, we're neophytes at doing the physical meetings too, but we were just getting used to that. And now we had to change everything over literally in about 2 weeks. And it really kept us on our toes. So that's what I'm doing. We're putting on an event called the Red Pill Expo. In case your audience doesn't know about that, not familiar with it, the red pill meme comes from the sci-fi movie, The Matrix. It was put out in 2020. Very popular movie in which the storyline, as I recall, was that the human race was somehow captured by something called the Matrix, which was a computer system. It was a machine. It was all digital. And humans were not living a normal life. In fact, they were unconscious. And everything that they thought they were doing was in their minds only. And their bodies were being used for physical energy, and their brains were being used for computing energy and responses. And we were all part of this giant machine. And a few humans had broken loose, and they were trying to rescue the rest of humanity so they could see the world the way it really was. Okay, what an analogy that is for our present world today. So we thought it was a good idea to have a Red Pill Expo. And the whole idea of what we're doing is to help save the world, get our fellow human beings out of the matrix, see the world the way it really is, break free of all the illusions, and get real. So it was a good move. I could say at two levels. When we chose the red pill meme, it really hit the hot spot with a lot of people who might not otherwise be so curious about issues like, well, have you read the Constitution lately? Who wants to read the Constitution today? Well, everybody should, but it's not in the news, and so it's not on people's minds. But they do want to. They know people know that something is wrong, and that's our slogan. Because you know something is wrong, a slogan, and but they don't know what. But the truth is, they know that they're being lied to, and so what this really is about is figuring out what these lies have been. And I thought I was pretty up to speed on that when we started on this path back in 2017. But as I meet all of these people that we've been able to encounter and bring them in as speakers or professionals in their own right, they're doctors and lawyers and teachers and researchers and some just average citizens. They, maybe they sell shoes or something, but they have a curiosity and they've learned something about something that's important in their lives that we all have believed in and found out later on it ain't necessarily so. We've been lied to. So that's what it's all about. People come here because they know there's something wrong, and our professors, we call them teachers and professors, our presenters are experts in the fields that they've discovered what it is that is wrong in their professions or in their lives, and they're here to tell you all about it. Now, that in a nutshell, is a big nutshell, but in a nutshell is what it's all about. And this year, we're going live stream, and it's free. We don't have to charge tickets at the door anymore because we don't have to rent a facility. We don't have to provide meals. We don't have to have a big entourage, a big production, and bring people on airplanes to a place and put them up for 3 or 4 nights in a hotel, buy them food and everything. All those expenses are gone. So we can produce this thing. Everybody, by the way, is a volunteer. All of the decision makers and all of the speakers, they don't get anything for this. None of us do. We're all volunteers because we have so many speakers. By the time you pay for the expenses of those, well, you'd have nothing left except to buy a package of shoelaces. So now we've gotten rid of that for this event. We can make this event free. Nobody has to buy a ticket at all. So we're looking for the big audience. And from what we can tell so far, the numbers are dumping in here. And by the way, you're going to help a lot with this little support you're giving us, for which we're very, very appreciative. We expect to reach out maybe, what do you think, Carly, 1 million people? Yeah. That number just staggers me because that's what we need to reach out, and more than that, actually, but it's a good start. So that's probably enough of an explanation. I'll turn it back to you.
Yeah, always glad to help. Oh, and also here, I'm just going to mute you on your side real quick because sometimes the feedback goes. Yeah, appreciate you and good luck. And I'll help more in the future too. This next couple months a little rough for me, but I got you. And just with this promotion as well, always glad to help. I want to play this clip for you real quick and get your response. Every time you're here, I always play a clip of you to yourself. I don't know if that's weird. I apologize. But I found one that it goes kind of hand in hand with what I was playing before. It's from your 1969 clip. And also, I think it got 2 million views on my Instagram. So just, always trying to raise awareness to the legend G. Edward Griffin. And I'm going to play this and then your instant reaction to it and how you think it kind of translates to today, because it aged so well that's why it went viral, like everything that you do does, because it's just so similar to what we're dealing with today. Here's the clip.
In 1943, the following directive was issued from party headquarters to all communists in the United States. It read, "When certain obstructionists become too irritating, label them after suitable build-ups as fascist or Nazi or anti-Semitic, and use the prestige of anti-fascist and tolerance organizations to discredit them. In the public mind, constantly associate those who oppose us with those names which already have a bad smell. The association will, after enough repetition, become fact in the public mind."
That right there was American legend and author G. Edward Griffin in 1969, reading a 1943 communist directive, straight out of the playbook. So let me know what you think about that. You said then it was in the communist playbook that they would call people or just like falsely label certain people Nazis and fascists in order to kind of smear their character.
Well, what more can you say about that? Yeah, it was in their playbook, and it still is, obviously. And I might add, it's also in the playbook of the Nazis and all of the other forms of collectivism. That's a standard thing when you're trying to lie to the people and you're trying to trick them. You've got to dehumanize your opponents, the people who are telling the truth. You've got to make them sound as bad and seem as bad as you can. So you just start calling them names. And they say if you do it often enough and long enough, eventually the public begins to believe it because everybody's saying it or they hear it so often. Hitler wrote quite an interesting thing on that in his book, Mein Kampf. And he said, if you tell the people a lie that's big enough and you tell it often enough, it'll become a fact. So this is not unique to the communists. It's unique to all of these guys who have different variants of this thing we call collectivism. And I think it's important that people understand that when you start looking at these ideologies of collectivism, which are all the subdivisions are communism, fascism, Nazism, socialism, they've got all these different variants. But if you look underneath, they're all the same. They all believe the same thing. And this idea of labeling your opponents with foul terms is one of those common things. And if anybody's interested in what I have put together on that topic, I'd be glad to send them a free 50-page booklet that we put out. It's called The Chasm. The chasm is a fancy word for the big divide, a big ditch or something that keeps things apart. And it's collectivism versus individualism. And if anybody wants to know what I think about that and what I found that the Nazis wrote about and the commies wrote about, the socialists and all the others, and put them together, you can go online and type in the word chasm, CHASM, .realityzone.com. So that's cool. Chasm.realityzone.com, and there it is, and you can download it. I think it's the most important topic that must be understood and discussed in our world today, because if we don't understand the differences between collectivism and individualism, big words, but they're simple concepts, if we don't understand them, we're going to lose our freedom for sure.
I wanted to ask you about this administration because, especially with your history, and I know you've been very ahead of the curve on just holistic medicine and getting away from pharmaceuticals. And also, your book on the Federal Reserve is probably the #1 most popular book of all time on the Federal Reserve. I don't know if that's true, but I would think that it is. What do you think about Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy bringing Ron Paul into the conversation about the Department of Government Efficiency? And what do you think about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. at HHS? Are you optimistic or do you feel like it's kind of a ploy?
I don't consider myself to be an optimist or a pessimist. I think of myself as a realist. And I've been around long enough that I don't even listen to these things, these words, these promises, because we've been betrayed over and over and over and over and over again, and we still go for the same hook every time. Now, maybe we won't be betrayed this time, but we've always been betrayed with those kinds of slogans. And in other words, they want us to think about who the good guys are and the bad guys are. That's all they want to talk about. We're the good guys, are the bad guys. Look how bad they are, and look how good we are. In various forms, that's the total message. And they might be good and they might be bad, but you mentioned the word principles before. I'm looking for the principles. Who's talking about political principles? None. Nobody talks about those things. That means we're through. Because if we don't understand the principles upon which freedom is based, we lose it. Our freedom is not based on the good guys being in office. That's not it. The good guys are always replaced by the bad guys eventually. Once you give the good guys power that should be denied on principle, because it could be inherited by bad guys, you've lost already. You don't win just by having a good guy in office, because he's going to be replaced. And the power you gave to the good guy because you liked him now goes into the hands of the bad guy. And that's the story of history. So you ask me what my opinion is. My opinion is, let's wait and see how they do.
Fair. I mean, not much you could say about that. Actions speak, words are cheap. I guess here's what I'd say about RFK Jr., at least this past, because there's, politics aside, I know he's had some big lawsuits with Monsanto. He's been on the front lines of a lot of specific action-based lawsuits. To you, does that impress you, from him just being a regular citizen, or do you think that, still, we gotta wait and see?
Well, I'm a wait and see guy, because I know that the lawsuits are You know, they don't necessarily change things except for the people involved in the lawsuit. One court can make a decision, even the Supreme Court, and 10 years or 20 years later, they'll overturn their previous decision. Nothing is permanent unless you understand the principles behind the lawsuit. Once the principles are understood, then they could last forever. But if you just say, well, this is good because it's good and we like it, you know, for example, this is perhaps a harsh thing to say. I'm going to get some people mad at me. But the people in the freedom movement are all naturally in favor of freedom of speech, right? Because the people on the other side are trying to prevent us from speaking and reading information that's contrary to the official pattern and so forth, and that's all good. But some of our people on our side are saying, let's vote for somebody who'll go into power, and we'll stop these people from being able to talk that way. We're going to make them talk like we do. And in other words, they don't understand the principles that if you want freedom of speech, you have to allow it to others as well. And they just want to get to power so they can have the power to shut the other guys up. And this
Right.
goes over and over again in all aspects of politics. They want the power that their opponents now have, and that's the totality of their opposition.
No, I hear you. I think in the freedom movement and the Republican movement, there are some people who do actually believe in free speech. But one of the things that I think made me unfavorable in certain groups in the press is when I realized that Trump, Kristi Noem, Ron DeSantis, I mean, most of the Republican Party were passing anti-Semitism bills. And I read the bills, because I want to see what the word means. When you say racist or sexist, as you said, it's just kind of putting someone down, which is okay, but then I need the substance behind why you're putting them down. And I read the bill, and it's like 11 or 12 basically hate speech phrases that they're now policing to try to go after, say, like liberal protesters at college campus, where violence is already illegal and speech is legal. And they're blurring the lines the same way the left wingers do. So I noticed that the hard way, where I was like, wait, I thought we all wanted free speech, but there seems to be some right-wing donors and maybe Republican politicians who they only want free speech that they agree with, and then when it comes to the Israel war or stuff like that, they're a little more quick to, call speech hateful. That isn't, that is just speech.
Yeah, that's right. You got it. And I wish I had heard some of that during the political environment that we just passed through, but we heard nothing like that. It was just who are the good guys and who are the bad guys.
Right.
And that scares me a lot. But nevertheless, what does encourage me, now let's get to the real positive side, is that even though a lot of this politics was something which perturbs me a lot, even though I could see that the groundswell at the American people level, the average guy, there was a groundswell of optimism and support for the principles. If we ever got to talk about them, there was support for those principles that made America great. And it's not just because we're going to elect somebody who's going to reduce the inflation rate. First of all, how can a president reduce the inflation rate? He's not authorized by the Constitution to do so. So to promise that he's going to do something that's against the Constitution makes him an unconstitutionalist, even if he's holding in his hand praising it. You know what I'm saying? I want people to think about the principles. Otherwise, we're not going to do well.
I guess my question to you is, what do you think the solution is? Like when you say that people don't understand their principles, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but during COVID, like everybody kept saying like, if I get the vaccine, then I'll be free. It's like, well, that's not real freedom if you have to get a pharmaceutical product in order to get your freedom. And then if the people who don't get it are not free, now you're creating this segregated society based on like pharmaceutical status. So I saw that there where they're like, if we do this, this, and this, and this, then we'll get our freedom back. And it's like, you don't understand how freedom works. So I think I get the concept of that. And like, is the solution enough people really getting to the point where they're like immovable on certain ideas?
Well, I think there are the people, and then there are other people. Unfortunately, not everybody has the interest in pursuing these issues very far. And most people don't care, they just want to say, is there a good guy in office? They'll take care of me. My view is that history has always been written by 1% of the population. Those are the original thinkers that set things in motion. Those are the originators of certain ideas, like the American Revolution. was based on the political principles that was expounded by a small group of men in the Continental Congress and a few people who were writers. Altogether, I'll bet the whole American Revolution was fueled by ideas expressed strongly by no less than 20 people. And then that spread to the next group of about 3% of the population, which you might call, in today's words, the influencers. They were the people that spoke, who taught, who read. They were leaders in their community, maybe the heads of small organizations, church leaders, and that kind of thing. That was the 3% that really became the movers and shakers. And they motivated the 15%, who were the ones that said, yeah, that's for us. They understood it, but they had lives to lead. They couldn't devote most of their life to this thing, but they count me in when you need me. And they're the ones that fought the American Revolution. And so the other percentage of well, let's look at that American Revolution example. On the other side, there was about 15% of the people that were still loyal to the crown, and they wanted no part of this. In the middle, there was 70% that couldn't care less either way. They were saying, well, let's see who wins. I'll be on that side. And that's the way history has always been done. So when we're looking in terms of today, we don't need 51% of the population. We need 15% of the population, which are more or less influenced by 3% of the population. And I think we've already achieved that number. All we need now is to get everybody together and realize that they're not alone. They think they're alone, and still they are in the controllable majority, the controllable majority. They will control society is what I'm trying to say, if they ever got together and worked together.
Right. I hear that. And I have a question. I have a few, but I want to start with this one. And if you ever got to run, because I know you're busy today, just let me know in advance. But when it comes to individualism against collectivism, I know that's big in your mindset. Where do you think that kind of plays a role in that, where collective people are able to kind of come together and stand together easier? Where I notice in libertarian movements and even like freedom-based truthers, like a lot of people are awesome, and I'm so grateful that I've been able to do this and be here. But some people, they could be very like just attack you out of nowhere, where they're so individualistic that they almost never want to collectivize. And that's why we can't get that 15%, because we might have 30% of the population on our side, but when it comes, everybody's in their subgroups and they don't want to join together to some extent.
Well, that's a bigger topic than it might seem, I think, because first of all, there's a difference between collectivism and collective action. And most people, or many people, think, well, you're an individualist, but you don't, therefore you won't work with anybody and cooperate with anybody. And that's a false assumption. I mean, they'll say to me, well, you want everybody to get together and have unity. Isn't that collectivism that you're fighting against? And the answer is no. The difference is that with collectivism, there is an authority figure that demands that you obey and you work together in the name of the people. But it's still a directive from a tyrant or somebody at the top. Armies are run on the basis of this pyramidal structure of organization. Orders come down from the top and you obey. Corporations are somewhat like that. You can always quit your job, but as long as you're in the corporation, you just take orders from above. And most organizations are like that. But the kind of organization we should have in politics should not be like that, because now that's the structure of tyranny. You get an order from above, you must obey it. Now, just because I want to move my piano on Saturday doesn't mean I have to do it alone. I can call my friends and say, hey, I need to move my piano. Come on over. I got some pizza and some beer and we'll watch football and we move my piano. How about that? And they come over. So that's a cooperative action. You're not forced to do it. Now, cooperative action, I think, is the ideal in a free society. If you want to help somebody, then help them. But don't go to your neighbor and say, I've got a gun in your rib, and if you don't give me some money to give to this guy next door who needs your money, that's a whole different angle. Coercion, when coercion enters, freedom leaves.
You told me one time, I asked for some book recommendations, and one of them was Frederick Bastiat, The Law. I think he goes kind of into depth on that, and it really makes sense to anybody that doesn't know how to word it, or perhaps wants to hear a great scholar and writer talk about it. But the idea of plunder, where, taxation is essentially the theft. This is what libertarians say, and they're right, because it's like, I have no option. This is not This is not voluntary, and also I can't really vote my way out of it because certain structures are both parties are in on it. So it's like they've normalized theft basically, and they did it so slowly, like a frog boiling, that it seems normal. But I saw Thomas Massey posted today on his Twitter. He said for most of American history, we paid everything with tariffs and we had no income tax. For more of American history than not, we had no income tax. We've only had income tax for a smaller period of time.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And I think if taxes were voluntary, as wild as that thought may seem, that it would work pretty well, because I would be glad to contribute an annual drive to contribute to protect my family from crime. I'm all for a police department that I control, or I don't want to control by some political boss or some criminal. But anyway, I would donate to a fire department. I would donate to a police department, to an army. But I sure as heck wouldn't donate to a school that was teaching stuff that I didn't approve of. I wouldn't donate it to provide for a home and shelter for people from another country when people in my own country need help too. I would want to allocate my own charitable resources, not have somebody else allocate my money to be charitable. I would want to have a voice in my own charity. I think that worked very well. But no, everybody thinks that, well, if it's a good thing, we must force people to give them the support they need, whether we want to or not. And that's the beginning of the end.
I agree 1,000%, because I even said with I think Steve Bannon got in trouble with the crowdfunding the wall thing because it fell under some sort of legality thing that he messed up on, or whoever was doing it. But it's an interesting idea where it's like people want a wall so bad they would crowdfund a wall. I would crowdfund my police. I could probably make a GoFundMe for an important national topic and get millions of dollars, through people. So that the things that we can't control, the schools that we don't like, the wars that we don't want to fight, this is where our money's going mostly, and we have no say in that. So I think I agree with you. Like, and when I have more money as well, I tip, and they tell you this idea that like, you're so bad, you can't handle all this extra money. Like, you do something bad with it, but we'll do something good with it. And you look at the budget that they have, and it's just like disgraceful what they're doing.
Well, you know what? Carlene says our battery is about ready to run out, so maybe we should run out. I don't know. Well, what do you think?
I would say just, I'll give you a closing statement, because I know you said you had about 20 minutes anyway. So just whatever you want to tell the people, whatever you're inspired to. I appreciate your time, and you can come on next week for longer, like I said.
Well, thanks a lot for that. What can I close with? What I've already said it, I'll repeat it again. When we're looking at politics, as we have been very intensely for the last couple of months, let's look at principles, not personalities. That would be the first thing I'd say. The next, let's not put such faith in partisan politics. Thomas Jefferson had a very interesting statement when after the Constitution was written. A friend wrote to him and said, "Mr. Jefferson, now that we have this government, how can we be sure only good people are in office?" And he answered, "Are you kidding? Good people in office?" No, he said, "Speak to us not of good people in office. Rather, let us bind men down with the chains of the Constitution." And so there you have it. Jefferson said, basically, don't trust politicians. Don't do it. Don't do it. And if they say, "Trust me," you've got a con artist on your hands, probably. We have to start putting some skepticism into our minds when we're looking at politicians, because government is like a magnet. It attracts all the predator class, and all the suede shoe artists and all the con artists go into politics. We know that. And yet we listen to them and say, "Oh, that's wonderful what he just said. Oh, I really trust this man. I like the way he smiled through us." I don't know what they say. Let's go back to principles. And I'll just leave it at that.
All right. Well, thank you. And just shoot me a message on Twitter next week when you got free time. You can come on for longer when you're back or wherever you are. And I want to ask a few other questions and then get into a good convo.
Okay. Well, people that like to talk about these things should come on and make sure that they watch the Red Pill Expo coming up starting tomorrow. Okay.
Yep. Appreciate you. Thank you.
The web, is redpillexpo.org.
Okay.
Redpill.org.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate you, G. Edward. I'll see you soon. All right. Legend. So I told y'all we had a little drop in. It happened, and that's what it is. G. Edward Griffin. He's going to come back on next week. He's always filled with interesting angles. And for those who don't know, I'll just go over his resume real quick. He wrote The Creature from Jekyll Island. I don't know if I said it properly. I think it's The Creature at Jekyll Island or from Jekyll Island. It's the most popular book ever written about the Federal Reserve. We'll talk about that next time he comes on. He was the one who interviewed Yuri Bezmenov. So that demoralization, destabilization, that Russian defector who, kind of blew the whistle on what they were doing with the communist infiltration. He was the one who interviewed him. He set that up and did it himself. And then also that Black and White 1969, where he talked about communism. He's done a lot. And he's an inspiration where if you do something that's true, it ages really well, So that's what I aim to do. I'm not saying that I've done something that's going to play as well as the things that he's played. That's hard to beat what he's done. But there's always going to be people's opinions. There's always going to be left wing or press or the media saying this or that. But at the end of the day, it does seem like things that are actually true and great will stand the test of time, and it'll make sense in 40 years. And the propaganda from 1940 or the propaganda from 1960, it's not going to age as well, or it's going to serve as a reminder of, what they tried to tell us. So someone said he's 93 years old. We don't like to talk about age here. He's 93 years young, perhaps, but yeah, it's incredible. He's the fact that he's just like so well-spoken, so chill. I hope I could live that long. I pray, and I got to take care of myself. He said he likes trace minerals. So I started taking trace minerals last time I talked to him. I was like, what? Give me a health secret. Like, you know what you're doing. He said, trace minerals. I go, I went right on Amazon. I was like, trace minerals. I need that in my body yesterday. So that's what it is. Yeah, beforehand, I want to talk about a few things. If you just joined, I went over the Doug Burgum appointment I don't want to rehash it too much because I already did it, but I'm not too thrilled with that. He took $100,000 from Bill Gates. North Dakota let Bill Gates buy a lot of farmland. That was controversial because they said that, there actually was some sort of law or rule that could have blocked him, but they let it go through. So I don't trust Doug Burgum at all. I don't like that pick. And I think MAGA needs to keep their eye on what he's doing. When it comes to Matt Gaetz, all the right people are mad at him. So it makes me think that he's the real deal. I saw that he doesn't take AIPAC lobbying money, and he stood against the speech laws, those ones that I was complaining about. He's one of the only people in Congress that stands up against it. So they're trying to launch this vicious smear campaign towards Matt Gaetz, saying he's anti-Semitic, And as I told people, it doesn't matter how pro-Israel you are. You could be Jewish. You could be the biggest Christian Zionist in the world. But if you ever reject the hate speech laws that they're trying to pass globally, essentially, but also in America, they will smear you as an anti-Semite because it's not a term that they just use for Hamas. It's not a term that they just use for Ilhan Omar, people that are left-wing. It's a term they use to try to shame and control people into basically submitting to whatever they're saying and doing, including a speech law that I view as anti-American and anti-constitutional. So that's what it is. He said, Christine Caroline Levitt is his choice for press secretary. Is that true? I don't even know who that is, but I'm not even going to look at it because press secretary, that's for the masses. It's just like say things, they don't have any power. They just have to, basically, she's Trump's PR manager. Like, you go out there and say what he's thinking to the press because he's busy. That's all that position is. So, I mean, it definitely matters for perception reason, but I would say it's like probably the least important. I'm going to take those off my ears. It's hurting my jaw, but probably the least important position. Someone said Doug Burgum sold his company to Microsoft for $1 billion. Did he? Okay, that might make sense why he is so tight with Bill Gates. I'm gonna plug my headphones real quick. I don't need these anymore. Turn up the volume. Funny thing is, they refer to me as a blank subhuman. Okay, it's not very nice of them. Someone said rejection of freedom of speech or you're anti-Semitic. I mean, these are the options. It's just most people have not figured it out yet, but I'm not really concerned with it because all you can do is control yourself, your own actions. And I think that any group, they want to, when they're bullying you, any group, they want you to be afraid. They want you to be angry. And if you act emotional and angry, then you just look angry. And then, you look like a psycho. So it's like, it doesn't, it rolls off it's not a big deal. I'm not angry. I'm not hateful. I'm never going to dive into that reality. I'm not going to hold it against other people that have nothing to do with. So it doesn't really affect me. One thing that I find interesting, I just want to talk about, there's I try to only use labels to describe things, not to like shame different groups or anything. But there are right wingers that would be considered like the far right that they go a lot harder than like Trump supporters and stuff. These farther right characters that really seem a lot more edgy, and they're willing to say more things and challenge foreign policy. One thing that I noticed, and this is not me being hateful, it's just like the truth. They have a massive blind spot for the pharmaceutical industry and like health and exercise. Like, I'm not going to name the account because I'm not trying to just be rude or anything, because I don't know if it's a misunderstanding or whatever. But there's accounts now, they're getting mad at RFK Jr. like, oh, he says he's going to stop drug testing and blah blah blah, and it's like, like I don't get why the far right has such a blind spot for health and medicine. It's like a lot of them, they don't really take exercise or work out seriously, and they're like, working out stupid, exercise is stupid, and it's like, it's actually not stupid. It's like, no matter what your race is, no matter what your religion is, no matter what your politics is, it's cool to take care of yourself. Like, it's better to do that than to not, if the option is there. And the healthier you are, it helps your mental health. It helps the person you are. Like, there's really no downside for anybody to take health seriously. So why do you guys think that is? Like, it's like the same way I say the Republican Party has a blind spot for the anti-Semitism speech laws, the far right, who knows about the anti-Semitism speech laws, they have a massive blind spot for health, exercise, and pharmaceuticals. Like, they don't care about that stuff. During the pandemic, I don't think very many of the people on that side, like, some people did. I'm not trying to like say everybody. Some people totally saw it, but a lot of people, like, they just don't care about that because they're so focused on like immigration and race and religion and Israel. I understand, these are important topics, but it's like how the blind spots are kind of wild. Everybody's got a blind spot, but I think the best analysts and journalists, like, they don't have huge blind spots. Like during COVID, Scott Adams, I like Scott Adams. He blocked me on Twitter. I don't care. I thought he's funny, and I like debating him or whatever, but he was such an egotistic narcissist that, like, he got COVID so wrong and he just spiraled. And then, 2 years later, he admitted he was right. Now I see him talking about like lobbying money, and he's getting pretty edgy with his content. And I feel like he'd probably like me now, but at the time he really did not like me because he had just such a gaping blind spot for like the vaccine. I just find that sort of stuff interesting, where like certain people that are so good on so many topics, there's just one topic that they're just like so wrong about. And I don't understand. I guess certain people just have certain interests, and they dive into their interests more. But I try to be as accurate as I can be. And if I don't know that much about a subject, I don't try to talk about it too much. I'll read this comment. Someone said, I don't know Bobby Jr. If he said the word Jesuits, I would trust him, and he smells like Knights of Malta. You smelt him? Have you literally smelled him and he smelled like the Knights of Malta? It might have just been malt liquor. He's an alcoholic. No, I'm just kidding. But is that your prerequisite? If people don't say Knights of Malta and Jesuits, you trust them? That's all they have to do is say that? What if like a terrible person just said that and then they were like lying about everything? I don't know. Everybody's got something they want people to say. Someone said Anomaly Massey Griffin Thanksgiving special. I hope Thomas Massey comes on the show. I know he's mentioned that he might at some points, but I would love to get him there. You are living. Thank you, Tina. Someone said they should be looking at all the people who sold their stock because they know something we don't want to know about the stock in Big Pharma. Here's what I have to say about the Big Pharma stuff. People, like, I like stocks, and I wouldn't say it's like my favorite thing in the world or anything, but I watch trends. I'm aware. People were kind of exaggerating about the stocks. Like, they'll show it's down 10% in a month, and they'll be like, look, it's way down because RFK got hired. 10% in a month is not that crazy. It's not good, but if you look at the history of some of these stocks, like, it's not like Pfizer just goes up, up, and up. They've had massive collapses before. It's not down. Like, let me look at it now, but people always just exaggerate and lie. Like, I get it. Like, I'm sure the pharmaceutical companies do not want RFK. Okay. I mean, it's down 4% today. 7. Yeah. No, I mean, I actually agree now. The first day it wasn't that bad, but 5 days it was down like a 4% day. I would guess that that's pretty related to him, but I don't know. Like, let me look at some other stocks that don't have like to do with pharma. Yeah, see, a stock that I have, I'm not going to say what, but a stock that I have that has nothing to do with the pharmaceutical industry is down like 3% today. So, you know, it has nothing to do with RFK and it's down a lot. It looks like the market was just down today. I feel like people like to just take like a little minor moment of it and be like, dude, this if it dropped like 50%, it's like, yeah, okay. But if it drops almost market rate or a little bit more, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I would guess if RFK actually gets to do what he wants to do, it's not going to be great for Pfizer for sure. Someone said Alex Jones for press secretary. Is that just a rumor? He's not gonna. No, they're not gonna pick Alex Jones. That's just a rumor and a joke, and he's joking about it. But that whole thing was weird. They made him sell his business, and someone said the Onion bought it, but he said they didn't. I'm loosely following that, but I'm not going to really speak on it until it pans out because there's going to be a lot of like quick reporting on it that's not 100% accurate. Yeah, someone said Nasdaq's been down for 5 days. It's been not the best week for all stocks, but it's okay. How many refugees can you fit in a Scientology building? Someone said. Why do you want to put refugees in a Scientology building? You got your own agenda over there, my guy. Are they pushing the refugee crisis or something? The Scientologists? I've never heard that, but they could be. What's my opinion on the trafficking accusations against Gaetz? I see a lot of people posting this. It's rightfully concerning. You know, I saw this a year or two ago because this happened a year or two ago. Some guy like named Greenberg or something got caught, and they said he was friends with Gaetz, and there was some sort of investigation or Green something. I looked into it a little bit last time, but I don't even want to speculate on it because any speculation that I would have would literally just be that. Like I've read reports of what they're doing. But if you ask me my opinion, which I'm not claiming is fact by any means, I think that they probably tried to set Matt Gaetz up and were unsuccessful. I'm not saying it's true. He could be a terrible person, but I feel like the fact, and this could be unrelated, but the fact that he doesn't take lobbying money, the fact that he's one of the only, like, he's one of the better people in House besides Thomas Massie. I would put Matt Gaetz, even though he's annoyed me at times and been a little annoying, I would say he's a top 10, top 20 House Republican. So, you know, I just find it weird that the worst of the worst of the worst people, they never get set up or accused of this stuff. But then, you know, it would be like if they accused Thomas Massie of that. It's like, would I believe it? Probably not. Matt Gaetz, I guess it's a little more believable because he doesn't seem as chill as Thomas Massie. But I don't know. I'm not going to like jump on an accusation because the games that they play. And I'm not saying that there's no one doing that because obviously with the Epstein stuff, there are people that are doing it and they never get caught. But first, they try to assassinate your character, right? They try to make everybody hate you. If that doesn't work, they try to defund you or get businesses to shut you down. If that doesn't work, you know, there's a lot of things they could do. But I would say the main one that they would do to you is try to accuse you of sexual assault. Because once one woman comes out and says you did something, whether you did it or not, it's going to cause a lot of issues for you. Not only issues like you could lose your job, lose everything, lose your self-respect and, you know, your public standing forever, but also it's just going to drain your time and energy and you're going to have to get lawyers, etc. So I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that one of the best members of Congress is almost got set up by a guy who got caught. I don't know. To me, it seems like a setup, but of course, I have no idea. But left wingers are saying that. They say that about Trump too. I'm not saying it's the same thing, but they say Trump, you know, banged somebody in a Macy's 50 years. Like they would have stopped Brett Kavanaugh. Democrats would have said Brett Kavanaugh was a rapist because he did this in 1960. That's their go-to when they can't stop you. And it's really sick because think about what you could do to somebody's life. Not only by lying about somebody are you helping actual bad people, but you're you know, like that's so messed up. I almost said the F word. That's the left wing or the establishment go to when they can't stop you. They just dig through your stuff. Dave Portnoy said that journalists from like the New York Times, etc., were contacting his ex-girlfriends and just like messaging them over and over and over, every girl they could find that knew him and trying to get a story, which is like, that's not journalism. That's like almost blackmail at that point. Like if you have an in and a lead and it seems like legit, it's one thing. But if you're just like going for like, you're literally just, because if say the journalist that did that to Dave Portnoy, I don't even like Dave Portnoy that much, but that's crazy unfair to him. Imagine if I went to that journalist and I just started messaging every single person that they know. Like I could find somebody that hates them or that knows that they did something or that doesn't like remember in high school they did like I could do that to them. Would I do that? No, that's like psychotic. That's borderline like you're a psychopath. That's not journalism. That's like obsessive stalking. Anyone could do that to anybody. Like if you had a best friend, you could, if you were a psychopath, you could just try to find out every girl they ever dated, everybody they were ever friends, their parents, their cousins who don't like them, who are Democrats, message them all and just try to find the top 3 people around them that have bad things to say about them. And then you could publish them. Like to me, that's too far, but that's a different topic. So I'm not going to say that I know what's going on. My intuition is saying I don't believe it. And I've seen them unfortunately do that to a lot of people. And here's the thing. The Epstein thing is massive. And everybody's talking about the Diddy thing because that's the new like Epstein cover up. But I'm not saying Diddy wasn't anybody either. It's just like now all the memes are about Diddy and not about Epstein anymore. But whatever. I'm sure he was somebody too, but I still think Diddy was a lower level person. Like he was like the rap version of something way, way bigger. I think he's the fall guy. I'm not saying he's not in on it. I'm just saying he's not even close to the top of that pyramid, in my opinion. With that being said, it's like if they really cared about human and child trafficking and blackmailing politicians, they would name one Epstein like Vic client or something, or one Epstein person who they caught doing something. They're genuinely uninterested in cracking down on the top human traffickers in the country. So any little story that they tell me about someone else or any story that they're trying to push on someone else, it seems hard to believe that they don't know anything about Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Yet Ghislaine Maxwell has been in jail for years now. Like they don't have any information on that. No, they don't care. And that's another thing with Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz said on, I saw a clip going viral on Benny Johnson's podcast. He said that he thinks a foreign country was behind the murder of Epstein. I didn't say that. Matt Gaetz said that. So to me, that's not what somebody says that doesn't want to talk about that topic. Like that's something that no one else has said. And he said that. I believe in my analysis that the worst people in this country, the worst Democrats, the worst Republicans, the people that are sold out to the lobbyists, they don't want Matt Gaetz to be attorney general. The fact that Matt Gaetz is being smeared as anti-Semitic because he wouldn't pass the speech law and he stands up for the First Amendment, that tells me that Matt Gaetz, he'd make a good attorney general. Like he seems like one of the least corrupt Republicans. Like there's a reason everybody likes him. It's not just because he has a loud mouth. He's always doing things that make more sense than what everyone else is. He's not as sold out as most Republicans. So I want him to be attorney general. I don't want to block him. And first they're going to say he's not qualified. Then they're going to say this, and then they're going to talk about the case that they opened on him 3 years ago to try to throw him out of the House, or 2 years ago. They failed. They already tried the whole thing that they're bringing up that everybody's talking about. They tried to do that 2 years ago and they failed to get him on something. So I'm not the law. I'm not the judge, but this is not a new case that they just found out about yesterday. They're rehashing an old case that he already beat. It would be like if they brought up that Donald Trump did something, with like Stormy Daniels. Like they already litigated that, like this is not some new case that they're bringing to the forefront to stop him from being president because now he's not qualified. Like the timing of it, I don't buy personally. But we'll see. The fake news, yeah. Bolton doesn't like him. McCain doesn't like him. They're calling him anti-Semitic. The rhinos don't like him. And everybody who's mad at him, like most people in Congress that don't want him to be there, they all take donor money. So it's like, if you're so great and he's so bad, why are you constantly taking bribes? You can't serve people and take bribes. What G. Edward Griffin was talking about, where he was talking about the principle of it, it's not about the people, it's about the principle. I get what he's saying, because at the end of the day, like, I do this news show, right? I've made a decision. I've told you this. When it comes to sponsors, first of all, I rarely have sponsors. I've had a few this week because I did a little deal with a company that I actually like. But if I get a product and I don't like it, or I don't think it's ethical, or I wouldn't wear it, or I wouldn't eat it and it's food, I'm not going to sell it. Most influencers are not like that, right? They're not. Steph Curry sells Subway. This person sells it. Like, they'll sell anything. Athletes will sell State Farm, like whatever, anybody that gives them money, I'll sell it. You'll buy it. I'll make money. And most internet journalists, they'll sell anything, right? That's okay. I mean, that's their prerogative. But me as a person, just like how I operate, I can't sell people something I don't like. And I'd rather lose the money. I don't know. I just can't do that. If I ever served in Congress, I would be like Ron Paul. I would be like Thomas Massey. There's no question. I would be one of the best congressmen. And I'm not bragging. It's not hard to do. The bar's low. I would accept no donor money, no lobbyist money, and nobody that could tell me what to do. And if I had to accept money where someone told me what to do, then I would just quit and do something else, because I'm not going to do that to my country or to government. So, with Congress, like people, everyone's like left and right. I understand it. Yeah, I voted Republican, but the fact that they're all taking money, that's why they're doing these things. If they really wanted to do them, why do they have to take money to do them? I guess they need to raise money, so then everyone has to take money. I get it sort of, where it's like, yeah, you got to beat a Democrat. So if a big oil company wants to give you $5 million and you like oil, just take the money. And like, I get the concept of why people can take donor money and not sell out, but that's just not quite how it's operating. So I just, I find it weird that the people who don't take donor money are always being smeared, and the people who take the most donor money get like great press. Like, have you ever heard a scandal about Nancy Pelosi? No, she's crushing it in the stock market, yet mysteriously there's just never anything to talk about with her. You know what I'm saying? Adam Schiff takes so much money. Like all the mainstream Republicans take so much money, but there's just never a big scandal about them, But then when someone comes along and actually, says, I'm not going to sign this bill because everybody else is taking money, but I'm not. Now there's a problem. Now there's an issue. But it starts with people wanting better and doing better. So I haven't done politics, and I would love to have Thomas Massey on to talk about it, because to me, he would tell me the truth. He's been in Washington for a long time. What's it really like? How does it really operate? Like, why do people take money? Is it because they get threatened? Is it because they can't win without it? Is it because you just become a part of the system because then you get to rise the ranks? Like, I can only say so much about it, but if I ever get Thomas Massey on the show, he could probably go into depth of exactly why so many people sell out. Are they bad people? Did they have good intentions? I don't know, but I could tell the difference between a Thomas Massey and an Elise Stefanik. Elise Stefanik is like, she's somebody who went there and said, how can I just get as much power as possible, right? My voting record sucks. I'll take the money. I'll stand here and tweet the same thing every day for my donors, and then she'll get and then there's someone like a Ron Paul or a Thomas Massey, where it's like, I'm going to just speak the truth and hopefully it'll be popular over time. And it is. Matt Gaetz, he's a little bit of both, in the sense of like, he's a showman. He's a politician. You know what I'm saying? He probably takes Botox. With that being said, his voting record is solid. His points make sense. And the fact that I know you're a real one when 95% of the Republican Party votes against the First Amendment and you don't, and you stand up for the First Amendment when most of the party goes the other way. That's how it shows you who's real. I'm not saying anybody's perfect, but Marjorie Taylor Greene, despite what you may think of her, she's one of the more real ones. Matt Gaetz is one of the more real ones. Thomas Massey's one of the more real ones. The list is, I don't have a much bigger list than that. I think Anna Paulina Luna is doing a really good job. She seems like she's willing to throw her weight around a little bit and not be like a total sellout. Rand Paul seems like a better person in the Senate, But besides those names, I can't really, maybe you guys can name some people you like. Chip Roy seems pretty solid on certain topics and such, but I can't say, I can't name 50 people that I like in a sea of 700 politicians. Like, the list for me is under 10. It's not above 10. And there's hundreds of people in the House. So that just kind of shows us what's going on. Let me see. Someone said, I wonder how Matt Whitaker became AG in 2018 till January 2019. I don't know how, but I know the QAnon people were like, trust the plan. Matt Whitaker's here to arrest the deep state. I was like, everything Trump did, they were like, he was like, Trump's like, I hire Bill Barr. They're like, Bill Barr, Bill Burr, Bill Barr. He's going to hit him with the bar of justice. I was like, Do you guys ever think like Trump's cool, but also like he doesn't always hire great people and we're not going to get the results we want? Or no, everything's like a secret game where Matthew Whitaker's like Robert Whitaker in the UFC and Bill Barr's Bill Burr. It's like the game's never ended. It was so funny. I want to put on this light real quick since the sun's going down. When the sun goes down, we'll be cruising when the sun goes down. I'm feeling all right. That's my Kenny Chesney. Thank you, guys. I'll be here all night. Actually, I won't. I'll probably be gone soon. What time is it? I want to watch the Jake Paul fight. My prediction is, this is official anomaly prediction for the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight. Jake Paul knockout within 5 rounds, or Mike Tyson quits because he's too old. Mike Tyson, if you see this, please don't beat the shit out of me because I'm not saying you're bad. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. That's my prediction. Please don't hurt me. With that being said, I think Jake Paul is going to win within 5 rounds, or if it's like a fake fight and they just decide to like not fight that hard because they don't want to hurt each other, then I would say that Jake Paul wins by decision. Those are my two official guesses. Jake Paul by knockout, unless it's a fake fight and they're just, jabbing because they signed some sort of secret deal where they won't knock each other out because Tyson's old. If not, someone's probably getting knocked out within a couple rounds. But all the old heads are like, Mike Tyson's going to win, because I'm like, I don't know. He's 58 years old, but he's still Mike Tyson. I don't know. He still could, but I think Paul's going to win. Let's see what you guys are saying. Someone said, I'm not going to watch because the fight's fixed. I got to support Netflix. No, I'm just kidding. I don't even have a Netflix, but I'm going to go watch it somewhere else in public probably, or in private. I don't know yet, but it's not going to be me. I don't have it. Yes, it's hard to be a professional athlete at 58. That's very difficult. But if he does it, that would be incredible. Someone said, remember John Durham was going to take care of them? Dude, that's the funniest trust the plan, like QAnon thing. John Durham, like, I'm not saying he's not real, but like, he's got one picture. He's got no videos. Like, he literally could just be like a made up character. And then the QAnon people were like, dude, John Durham's laying the hammer down on Hillary Clinton. And then you Google John Durham and he's got one picture where he looks like a guy wearing a face mask. I'm not trying to start a new theory, but it's like, how is this guy in a high level position and he has no pictures of himself? Like, let me look it up. Look up the one John Durham. He's got the one like funny picture. Yeah. It's literally that where he just like, it's just the one picture. I can't find any other. Oh no, he actually is there. Okay. I see him. Oh, he spoke in 2023. Okay. That's good. For a while, I couldn't find a single video of the guy, but I guess he came out of the woodworks in 2023 to like actually talk. It's like, bro, if you got no videos of you, that's kind of crazy. In this day and age, it's impressive. Maybe he just really doesn't like the internet, which is kind of based, but let's see. Portnoy reminds you of Michael Rappaport. Well, that's anti-Semitic to compare those two. I'm just kidding. But Portnoy is definitely like a less annoying Michael Rappaport, I think. Like, he's kind of cool, but kind of annoying. Michael Rappaport, dude, that guy is just an interesting character, let's just say. Is Jill Stein the new far left party? Jill Stein is the woman who will champion certain ideas that are pretty fringe to some extent, and she'll just never win. So, for a while, Jill Stein was basically grifting off the Green New Deal. But she tells the truth about some stuff, like the Russian war, and I was okay with Jill Stein. I know she can't win, but she's whatever. And then this time, she definitely was one of the only pro-Palestine candidates, and she was calling out the genocide, or what some call a genocide and others call anti-Semitism. I guess it depends who you talk to. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Jill Stein, she talks about Palestine a lot, and she is Jewish, but she's like a left-wing Green New Deal Jewish lady. So she's not a big fan of like Netanyahu. So I would say she picked up a lot of support calling that out. But the issue is like Jill Stein as a talker is who she is. Jill Stein as a presidential candidate, it's just not real. Like, it's, the Green Party has made like no gains with her. Like, it's just not going to happen. So I guess it's good that she has a platform to say or speak her mind and challenge the system. But how much votes did she get? Like, under a percentage? Like, should I even look how many votes she get? Let's see. Jill Stein, like, she's not a real candidate. She's just kind of using the presidency to like push her policies, which is okay. Let me see. How many votes did she get? Jill Stein, where are we at, lady? Let's scroll down. She got under 0.5 votes. She got less than 1 million votes and 0.5. I mean, it's not good. It's not a good amount. It's a good amount if you just like run one time just to show your friends, but she's been running for a long time. So I believe like 0.5 is pretty bad for her. I think that's less than she got in 2016. Let me look it up real quick. I'm just curious. Sorry. Curiosity. 2016 Jill Stein votes. Let's look. In 2016, Jill Stein got, how many votes are we talking here, folks? She received 0.17 of the popular vote. So yeah, she's getting less popular over time. That's what I thought. Oh well. Poor her. Someone said, I think RFK got more votes than her. I think they're pretty close. I think he was right under her, but I don't know for sure. Someone said Democrats were going hard on her. Well, she takes votes away from Democrats. She's calling out Democrats. She says that they're genociding Palestinians. She says that they're lying about Russia and Ukraine, which I actually agree with. And she's like telling people that the Democrats are not going far enough, that they need the Green New Deal. So Democrats want to get her off as many ballots as possible because she can, especially like if you look at the Senate race, I'm just going to look at the numbers real quick in Pennsylvania. Like a Libertarian or a Green Party really can like ruin the votes. I know people are saying, well, like you got to earn our votes. I get it. Yeah, I'm not saying you can't run, but like if you want to be realistic, like let me read this. Pennsylvania, this is a massive Senate seat. Dave McCormick got 22,000 more votes. Under 21,000 and change. So, if a third party candidate gets 21,000 votes, like that's why they hate Jill Stein, because this election, even though it looks like a landslide, it comes down to a couple 100,000 votes in like 10 different states. So nobody wants another candidate running against them. If RFK would have ran against Trump could have won, but he also could have lost, that was big. I told people when RFK endorsed him, I didn't want to get too confident because you never really know, but I was like, Trump has to win now. Like RFK's got at least like millions of people, right? I would think he's got a whole coalition. I thought he could have maybe got 5 to 10% of the vote, maybe if he ran a real serious campaign, but maybe not. I thought once he endorsed Trump, I was like, that's really big. And now he's HHS. I'm excited about that. I'm definitely excited to see what they'll do. Talk about the Tyson fight. I do a good Mike Tyson impression, but I already said enough about him. I don't want him to beat me up, so I'm not going to do it. But I think Jake Paul's going to win by knockout unless it's rigged. And there's a possibility because if you watch the Roy Jones Jr. Tyson fight, it looked like they weren't trying to knock each other out. So because Tyson's older, they might do a handshake deal saying like, hey, we won't knock each other out. Then it'll go to decision. But if they're really fighting, there's no way it lasts more than 4 rounds in my view. But only time will tell. Someone said Jake will pull his punches. I feel like you almost have to, because I feel if you knock out Mike Tyson at 58, you just look like an asshole, And then all the old heads, I'm not knocking you guys, but they're like, even my dad called me today. My dad called me and he was like, shut the hell. And my dad's like, who do you think wins a fight, me or you? I was like, I'm not a boxer though. I was like, probably me, but at the same time, I don't know. My dad's kind of strong. So I was like, he literally called me up to yell at me for saying I thought Jake Paul's going to win. But I'm like, Tyson's old though. I don't know. And he's like, he could still hit hard. So anybody over 50 thinks that Mike Tyson's going to win, but they're so sure of it. They're like, it's rigged if he doesn't win. It's not rigged if he doesn't win. He's 58 years old. He could get tired in 20 seconds. He could fall over. Like, I'm not saying he will, but it's like 58. How come Brett Favre doesn't come back? 58 is crazy. Tom Brady inspired the country when he came back at like 43 and did incredible. That's amazing. 44, incredible. He could have played a few more years, no doubt. But 58, no one's done this before, especially in boxing. This is unheard of. So I don't think the people over 50, they don't realize like it's not Mike Tyson when they watched him in the 90s. It's Mike Tyson now. it's like George Foreman's gonna. It's like how you know, like age is a thing for sure, but we will see. You know, the nation will all get fat and watch the fight together like Americans do. So it's okay. I'm gonna be a slob today and watch the fight like everybody else. Leave me alone. I got to get my slobbery in before RFK comes in. Then I'm gonna be afraid to eat bad foods and stuff. So I'm enjoying my trash while I can, you know. And then RFK is gonna take the trash out. Someone said Tyson looked a little slow in practice. He's really strong, but I just don't see how he's gonna last that long. But I don't know. Maybe he's really training and has got good cardio. I have no idea. But we're gonna find out because I'm American and that's what we do. We eat food and we watch things. Okay? Don't blame me. It's in my DNA. I'm trying my best. Someone said Tyson's still punching brick walls. He's a madman. He could definitely the odds are like -200, which means 2-1, which means it's not that far odds. Like I'm shocked the odds are this close. I thought they'd be way further, but I get the dynamic of the situation. It's like Mike Tyson's got a good 4 minutes in him, and if he gets close to Jake, he could like literally kill him. But at the same time, if he can't kill Jake or knock him out quickly, then he's going to get his ass kicked, in my opinion. I get it. But they might fake fight too, and it might go to a decision. There's a 0% chance it could go to a decision if they were really fighting. If they're really fighting, Jake's knocking his head off or Tyson's knocking his head off or gut shotting him or something. He's got crazy power still. So someone's getting knocked out. If it's real, if it's fake, they're going to decision. So we'll see. Will Tyson eat Jake's children? Only he knows. Probably not. Well, Jake has no kids, so I don't think so. Did I see him doing pull-ups? Who, RFK or Tyson? Let's see. Someone said fake fight. They're really gonna fight, but they might like not punch that hard. That's true. Actually, we'll see. Someone said I'll eat his ears. I'm impetuous. I'm impregnable. I'll eat his ears off. That's my Mike Tyson impression. Mike, don't beat me up. Sorry. I just try to do impressions there sometimes. I do a good like Mike Tyson talking about pigeons impression, but I don't want to be disrespectful to Iron Mike. It's not the day to do so. Maybe another day. Actually, it's never a good day to be disrespectful to Iron Mike. I feel like if we ever met, we'd actually really get along and be friends. Like I really like Mike Tyson, so I don't want to do an impression of him and then have it like used to blackmail me and then Mike hates me forever, because I feel like, you know, we may never meet, but if we do meet on like a normal basis, I feel like we'd get along very well. You know, I see the real one in him. Like everyone does. He's Mike Tyson. He's awesome, but I think he'd like me. But if I did an impression of him, he'd probably want to punch me. Understandable. Let's see. All right, let's get back to something else. Someone said Haman. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. There's some people who always just type weird shit in the chat, and I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. A Haman sympathizer? Are you making a joke? Are you spelling Hamas wrong? Like, I really don't know what you're saying or doing, but just good luck. John says Anomaly seems like a decent person. Thanks, John. I fully agree. I co-sign that, but not. I appreciate it. I'm just kidding. You're underestimating us old heads. Remember, George Foreman was an old champ in his 40s. And that was historic. 58-year-old Mike Tyson is the same as 45-year-old George Foreman or 46-year-old George Foreman. 58. I mean, they have good drugs nowadays. He could be on all sorts of new stuff and jacked up. He has power. The odds are what they are, but I'm saying Jake wins. I'm pretty confident, but in a fight that could be slightly rigged. My shirt for someone, it says no more lies. I got this from, I think their name is Forbidden Clothing. They gave me free stuff one time, so give them a shout out. That's a free shout out, you know. Just I like the sweatshirt. It's very cool. They run a very interesting Instagram account too. Check them out. Someone said Anomaly, the Tyson fight script was leaked online. Can you look it up? I don't believe that personally. I'm a big combat sports fan. I'm telling you right now, I don't want to repeat it because I know some people might be getting bored. If they fix the fight, what they're going to do is say, fight, but don't punch as hard as you can to knock each other out. Like, don't hurt Mike Tyson and Mike, don't hurt Jake. Fight, but don't no, we don't want any injuries because Tyson's so old. That's the only way it's going to be rigged. I don't think there's a script. I don't believe that. It's either they're going to fight for real, somebody's getting their asses kicked, or they're going to fight like they're sparring. And there's something called sparring in fighting where you fight, but you're not trying to hurt the other person, but it looks real, but you're not fighting that hard. It's what you do when you're practicing. They're either going to spar or they're going to fight for real. I don't think there's anybody claiming that they have a script or something. I don't believe it. There's a lot of people that always like to say everything. And Jake is somebody too, where they always say like, oh, everything Jake does is rigged. Like he's really fighting people. He's just picking and choosing who he's fighting. If any fight's going to be fake that Jake Paul does, it's going to be this fight because they might need a contract. Because dude, Mike Tyson had a health problem 7 months ago because he's old. He had like some issues with like ulcers and stuff. Like I don't even know how this fight's being sanctioned personally, but yeah, most of Jake's fights, they're not rigged. He's just fighting people that aren't as good as him. And he's good at boxing. Like he's actually taking it seriously. But sometimes the judging is suspect, though. I watched one fight, like it was a prelim or what do they call it? Undercard. It was an undercard fight to one of the bigger fights. It could have been Usyk and Fury. I don't remember what the undercard was. This one guy who was an underdog, I just tuned in early. He won probably almost every single round. Every announcer was like, wow, what an upset. That guy beat him. And then the judges gave it to the other guy. Like boxing, I like UFC. UFC to me, there's robberies, but it's more straightforward with the judging, in my opinion. Boxing is weird to me. There's 12 rounds. There's always draws. I don't like boxing scoring. Boxing scoring sketchy. And I understand why people think it's rigged because the judges, and it's just so weird. I like UFC more than boxing personally, but I like boxing as well. Anyway, script claims round 5, Jake Paul ropes and Tyson wins. If it happens, then you know the script's real. If it doesn't happen, then whoever told you it was real, you should never trust again. It's like, that's the thing. Like, oh, I don't know. I just put someone's comment on the screen by mistake, but it's like, it's not that hard to not get tricked by this stuff. Cause say it's true. Round 5, Jake Paul's out on the ropes, right? The exact thing in the script. Now you're like, wow, that's the truth. But if that doesn't happen, now you got to be like, who told me that was real? I'm never going to trust that person again or believe what they're saying because they don't, they're not accurate. I love Taylor Swift. Where did that come from? You're just falsely Swift accusing me just out of nowhere. Oh, you like Taylor Swift. What is this? Like freaking cyberbullying? I don't like Taylor Swift, dude. I just think she had like 7 good albums and I have them all framed and I have 5 shirts of her because I've been to 7 concerts. It's not that big of a deal, bro. She has 7 good albums. I have them framed. I have them signed. I paid tens of thousands of dollars to stand front row. I screamed. I cried. I uploaded a selfie and I have 5 arena tour sweatshirts. It's not a big deal, bro. I'm not a big Taylor Swift fan. Stop bullying me. I just think she makes good music. She's a good songwriter, good beats, good lyrics that relate. I'm just kidding. I don't like Taylor Swift. Not like a massive hater, but I'm not the target audience for her music. I'm not sitting there like shake it off or like Romeo Juliet. I'm like, it's not for me. But if you want to pretend like it is, it's on you. Someone said my wife bumps Swift. I heard worse modern hip hop. Listen, if you're married and your wife listens to Taylor Swift, you have to like it or else it's going to cause problems in your marriage. So I understand what you're doing. You're like, yeah, I've heard worse hip hop than Taylor Swift too, but I've also heard better music than Taylor Swift. I've heard songs that are so bad in hip hop that I'd rather listen to Taylor Swift, but there's probably 50,000 songs out there that I'd much rather listen to any Taylor Swift song. Like I could think of female artists I'd rather listen than Taylor Swift, like Lauryn Hill, the Cranberries, sure, but is that who does the zombie song? That woman's a great singer. She's interesting. I'd rather listen to Dolly Parton. I'd rather listen to the Dixie Chicks who changed their name because they went liberal. I don't like Taylor Swift. She's not even like a top 20 female artist in my opinion, let alone like a top 100 artist I would ever listen to. No disrespect, but it's just very like, yeah. It's like my ex-boyfriend made me mad. Now I'm mad. Now I bought a cat. Now I got 2 cats. Now I got 3 cats. I'm Taylor Swift and I got 100 cats. You should get cats too. You should hate men too. We're all hurt. we're all scorned. La 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 la. Let's vote for Kamala. It's just like, and then you're like, yeah, you know, my wife listens to it, but it's pretty good. It's better than hip hop. It's like, dude, I'll take like an ignorant hood banger that's like demonic over that. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't know. That's like her whole vibe. It's just like, and it's the scorned poets society. We're poets. We're damaged. We're damaged poets, and we're just scorned. Everybody listen to my music. La la la. You know, she's like, my ex told me, your dad told me, I don't like your girlfriend. It's like, dude, just get married already. You know, so we don't have to hear this music anymore. Is it the Pfizer guy you like? Marry him. Have a kid. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to cyberbully or anything. It's just like whatever stops the quality or the content of the songs you're making. I can't deal with the like sad, you know, victim. And then people will be like, that's not her music, dude. You don't understand, dude. I listen to Sad Poet Society, and like it was really different than that. She was talking against that in the Anti-Hero song. Somebody said that to me one time. They were like, you don't understand, dude. Anti-Hero is the exact opposite. I'm like, I don't give a shit. I immediately regret everything I said. I never said it. I know she has like a dedicated fan base that's like psychotic. You know, they're worse than the media. They find out you talk shit about them. They're like, they just try to ruin your life. And like them Beyonce fans and stuff, they call themselves like Bayhive. They just swarm at you. Same with like K-pop. That whole thing went right over my head. Like there's Korean guys who dance and sing. They're like, ooh, we love American girls or something. And then people are like, oh my gosh, Jungkook. Did you see the new Jungkook? And I'm like, what's Jungkook? They're like, it's BTS. I was like, what is BTS? What does that mean? They're like, you know, like the K-pop thing is in that category too. I feel like they're so popular. It's like Jungkook and all the kooky Korean guys that they just like put makeup on and stuff, and they're like, dance, boy, dance. And he's like, okay, I'm tired. They're like, keep dancing, we're making money. Like, you know, they like dye their eyelids and stuff to look Caucasian. I don't know. I forget I even said that. The last thing I need to do is take on all these huge fan bases. BTS is awesome. Taylor Swift is a legend. You know, they're just really awesome. And you know, just to each their own. It's just not for me. But I don't want these fan bases coming at me. It is funny though to talk about because I see how powerful they are. When I lived in Hollywood and Los Angeles, I was walking home from work and I saw like this massive line, the biggest line I ever saw in Hollywood. And I was like, what is this line? And I kept asking everyone and they're like, it's BTS. I was like, and I had to go on my phone. I was like, what is BTS? And it's some like Korean boy band, but like, I'm not kidding. The biggest line I saw in like 7 years of living in Los Angeles. They took over the whole city just to like watch these K-pop guys, like, and they were like crying, like jumping on the fence to try to like look in. Like they're like, ah, oh, I was like, oh my gosh, you got like a bunch of girls like risking their lives to like fall over a 20-foot fence just to see Jungkook do his little dance. And they're like, la, 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 la. They do like a little, they're like, psh, psh, psh. They have like little dance moves and they're like, oh, I was like, holy crap. Like I don't understand what's going on here. Like we had like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and Britney Spears and Spice Girls and stuff, but like it wasn't that big. It was big, but it wasn't like that big. This new thing, I guess the Beatles, Elvis were that big, but whatever. Anyway, where were we? I do really good pop music impressions, by the way. If anybody wants to hire me, we could start a pop group, K-pop group. We could do white K-pop guys. They kind of try to look white. We could try to look Asian, you know, like they kind of like dye their skin. We could dye our skin like a different color and we could be like white people being Korean and then they could sell us in Korea. That would be kind of fire. And then the Korean government would probably get mad or something. Kim Jong-un would start talking shit. And then I'd be like, listen, relax. I'm friends with Dennis Rodman. And he'd be like, okay, for sure. My bad. Because I actually, you know, I got to talk to Dennis Rodman once and talked to little North Korea. I was like, maybe I could play basketball there sometime. And he was like, I don't know, man. I'm just, you know, didn't even like listen to me, but it's okay. Someone said Matt Gaetz has someone in his corner feeding him CCP propaganda. He needs to clean house. What do you consider CCP propaganda? Like what is Matt Gaetz doing that's CCP propaganda? Because it's possible, but I feel like anytime, like what if I said the reason that the American liberal world order hates China is because they're a strong nation that is not controlled by America. Is that CCP propaganda? Because that's what I think that just independently. I don't know what Matt Gaetz says, but it's like the whole GOP is like not working with the CCP. Like maybe Mitch McConnell or something, because he's a little sneaky, but that's what people say. I'm not saying he really is, but they say that. America set up the South Korean CIA, someone said. It's pretty clear South Korea is under our control and North Korea is not, like just based off like what's going on. From people that I know that go to Asia a lot, they say that South Koreans love like plastic surgery. Like I thought they just looked that way, but they're like, no, they're all getting plastic surgery. I was like, oh, I don't know if that's true or not. If you're from South Korea, please don't hate me. But I heard that. So you can get mad at who said it to me. I'll figure out who it is and I'll dox them. And I'm just kidding. But yeah. You heard blank was blank too. I mean, I don't know. There's always going to be rumors and stuff. Matt Gaetz used the Global Times as a source and was called out for it. I think someone's feeding him information he might not be aware. So if you ever share, I mean, it's not the smartest move to make politically, but if you ever share like a Chinese newspaper, does that mean you're getting fed CCP propaganda? I get what you're saying. Like, I don't read Chinese news. I don't even really know how to find it. You know, like it doesn't pop up in my feed because I'm pretty sure America does a good job to like hide Chinese news, you know? But it's like, if I ever by a mistake shared a Chinese news article, does that mean I'm like, is there no leeway? That's the only way to do it. I'm really not that concerned with like Matt Gaetz sharing a Chinese news article. I don't think it's that crazy. I think America and China need to come to the table and strike a deal, because I don't want to live in China. I'm not Chinese, but I think there's a reason. If you look at George Soros, he doesn't like Xi Jinping. The Democrats don't like China. Some of them do. They work with them, but it's like, why would George Soros and Republicans both hate China? Like, what are they ever together on? It's because when it comes to the liberal world order or open society or whatever you want to call it, China doesn't play ball. They're a very strong nation. Yes, they're communist and they're nationalistic and they're ethnically Chinese. That bothers the liberal world order. They can't have Chinese people being Chinese, Russian people being Russian, Europeans being European. Like, they don't like that. So I'm not saying that China's good. But it's like, if someone shares a China news article, like the demonization of that country, in my opinion, specifically comes because our country can't control them. It's the same with like Cuba. I don't want to live in Cuba, but it's like any country that America can't control, they demonize. They can't control Syria. It's the worst country in the world. And he's killing a bunch of kids, even though, you know, the people that they fund kill kids and they fund terrorists. It's like, you know, North Korea won't work with us. Oh, then they're terrorists and yet they're so bad. And it's like, Gaddafi won't, you know, give us the Federal Reserve money. Oh, he's so bad. Like, he's going on the gold standard. Anybody that doesn't play ball with the liberal gay world order, they will demonize to the fullest extent. So I'm not like, China is an adversary of America. They are our competition, but you know, I don't read their newspaper because I don't give a shit what they're saying, and I don't want to live there, and I don't subscribe to their ideology. I'm not Chinese. That's not my nation. With that being said, you know, it's like, what if I share Italian news? Am I working for Italy? I don't. And then people will be like, well, it's different because China is communist. It's like, yeah, but the Western press is like gay and liberal. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's not like our press is amazing and their press is like the worst. It's like 99% of U.S. press companies hate you. They hate you. They hate your family. They hate our country. They hate you by your race. They hate you by your religion. Like, they hate your politics. They hate Trump. It's like, that's our press. Yeah, we have Fox News and we have some competition, which is great, but I don't know. To me, the narrative that the right pushes on the CCP, it's, in my opinion, a little exaggerated in a way, but I like Trump. Trump is someone who he'll sit down with China and he'll strike a deal. That's what China needs to be. They don't need to infiltrate on our country. They shouldn't be pushing propaganda in America. They shouldn't be buying farmland in America. But we do so much commerce and business with China. Like, we just need a fair deal and a president who can defend our national interests. That's all it needs to be. But, you know, I feel like they're on the list. If the people who run America had their way, they would destroy the nation of China, they would destroy America, and they would destroy Russia. Why? because these are the three biggest threats. America as a nation, if we came together as a nation, a Christian nation, God forbid, they don't like that. Russia, a white Christian nation that is just Russian and has an ethnic identity, they don't like that. And then China, it's like a national country that they don't control. They hate that. So I'm not saying Russia and China are your best friends. They're not. But I always have to preface it with that, because then people will try to put words in my mouth. I'm not Russian. I'm not Chinese. I don't read their newspapers. I don't care what they're doing or saying. It's not my country. It's not my nation. It's not my ethnicity. Don't care. With that being said, those are the biggest threats to the liberal world order, because they have ethnic and national identities. And if you want to make an open society where everyone's all the same, aka like nobody gets their own place, like Europe just gets completely flooded with other people, and then they call it a conspiracy theory when you talk about it, they want that, because when people are all mixed up and confused, then nobody can defend themselves. Nobody can protect their nations. Nobody can keep anything afloat. And that's happening all over Europe right now. It's happened in America right now. And if you look at the two countries where they can't make any footing because they've basically been kicked out, to maybe not the complete extent, but that's what's going on with those countries. So, I mean, Matt Gaetz should probably not share a foreign newspaper, but like if he shared the New York Times, would that be better? Like he shares Huffington Post. Like I shared CNN the other day just because I was rushing to get out a post, and I just found CNN said RFK was, he got the HHS position. I don't like CNN, but it looked nice aesthetically, and I wanted to post it in a square, and it was like the perfect square with the headline and the picture. So I posted it. I don't agree with CNN, but am I not allowed to post them? So that was a long kind of segue through that, but the least of my concern is Matt Gaetz screenshotting a paper and sharing it on his social media feed. Like I could care less. I couldn't care less about that. Someone said Kissinger is down with the CCP. I don't know what I don't know what Henry Kissinger was doing, but something tells me that it wasn't that, but I would have to look into it. Someone said, reminds me of Popeye's chicken sandwich that everything is controlled. Excuse me? Are you on hallucinogens or something? You okay? You ate a Popeye's chicken sandwich and then you realized everything was controlled. It was that seed oil hit you and you're like, dang, the Illuminati. And you're like, dude, relax. We're at a public Popeyes right now. I don't know what you meant by that, but it was funny. The one child policy. That's bad for the American nation though. Yeah. I mean, if China adopted his policy, then he psyop Chinese people into like basically killing themselves and, killing their future or not having their future. So I don't know if he was responsible for that. I haven't done that research, but any country that adopts a one child policy, I mean, that's pretty blasphemous towards your nation and your ethnic group and your ancestors and everybody. Like imagine in America, if they were like, this race can have one child, but this race can have 7, but you can only have 1. What are they doing to you over time? So if anybody convinces, whether it's a Chinese person or not, to be like, let's just have 1 kid because we have so many people, it's like, then they're building a lot of stuff. Elon talks about the population collapse. They start building stuff, but generations happen really quickly. You know what I'm saying? Like time goes by quick where you feel like there's a lot of people, and then 2 generations go by and now all of a sudden you have half the people and nobody is able to live in the facilities you built. So China and Saudi Arabia are interesting countries because they are so in control of their country and they don't have to worry about anybody else because they just do whatever they want. They build stuff like crazy. Like China will build all this stuff and like you don't vote on it. Nobody gets a say. The Chinese government just does what they want. And then they build incredible things. Sometimes they build the coolest things. Like they're really smart Chinese people. Not everybody, but you get what I'm saying. Like as a nation, they're very talented. With that being said, it's like sometimes they build too much with all their government money and then they have to knock it down. Google or look up some of the Chinese like implosion, like they'll just implode massive buildings, this, that, like all these great things that they built because they don't even know what to do with it. With Saudi Arabia and Dubai, I think it's Saudi Arabia, not Dubai. Dubai's in the UAE, but Saudi will build a whole stadium just for a UFC fight and then they'll knock it down after the fight. Like they move interestingly. I'm not, saying anything about either government. Like, I support everything they do, but I find them interesting governments. Like, they seem ambitious, you know? Saudis seem very ambitious. Chinese people are very ambitious as a nation. America used to be the best because we were ambitious, but we had liberty, but we also had talent, and we had people that actually knew what they were doing. Now we're just like a little too weak and weird. So hopefully we can make America great again, because we're, you combine liberty-based principles with a strong nation, with people and families and, talented, competent people who can build stuff and invent, then America is like, I love America. I'm not Chinese. I'm not Russian. I'm not Saudi. Like, I'm American. I want to win. I want to be the best. But in order to be the best, we have to be the best and not just like yell at everybody else. And now we're like, yo, Russia and China. And it's like, we could talk shit about every country, but like, what are we doing? Like, we've done a lot of cool stuff, and we're still a really awesome country, but we could be so much better. Everyone knows it. That's what this time is. Like, we got to start crushing again, because, the American people plus, liberty-based principles and a somewhat free market, and this country can exceed China and a lot of other countries. Right now, it's an interesting like little hole we're stuck in, but Trump's going to take us out and save us. And if you don't believe so, you're a Democrat. No, I'm just kidding. But, Willie Lopez said, go to bed, Anomaly. You're sounding retarded like you are. Ha 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 ha. Good one, Willie. Good one, Willie Lopez. Bro, you're so funny, dude. Man, maybe you should have a big audience and you should get all the views and you should be the star, because you sound so smart and so eloquent and so funny and so interesting. Thanks for watching, but I feel unworthy of your attention, bro, that you're still suspiciously giving me, even though I sound tired. Because, like, it should all be yours, bro. You're the man. Thank you. I am going to leave in a few minutes, though, for sure. Someone said Anomaly stayed up for 3 days. That's a conspiracy theory. Now, I slept last night. What time is it, though? I do want to watch that fight. It's 5:10. Let's see. My dad's texted me about Mike Tyson. It's so funny. Like, we haven't been talking that much, like, not for any reason. We're just busy. And like, I posted something about like saying Jake Paul's going to win. And he's just, the whole day, he's just been talking to me about it. He's like, no. He's like, Mike Tyson's going to win. He said, if Tyson was a badass fighter, nasty, mean, if this ain't rigged and Tyson goes for it early, should be exciting. I saw his fights in his prime. Dude, I love a little fight shit talk. I'm gonna just text Han. I'm gonna just say Jake Paul's the GOAT. I don't actually think he is, but I think it'll just make my dad mad. Let me see. Jake Paul is the GOAT. I'm gonna just say better than Ali. I said Jake Paul's the GOAT, better than Ali. He's gonna get so mad. I do not think that to anybody. Anyway, do I think Vivek and Elon will curb government spending? I mean, time will tell. As G. Edwards said, we'll leave on this note because I'm gonna start watching the fight in a little bit. But as G. Edwards said, like, actions speak. So like, everything they're saying now, it's cool. You can get excited or not, or get mad. You could do whatever, but like, why would you get mad? Like, why? What's the logical, like why even be angry or mad? Like, at bare minimum, just like relax, but don't, if they say a lot of stuff, that's interesting. They say they're going to do a live stream every week. That's cool. That's transparent. Time will tell. Time will tell what they do. And one thing I do want to say is he mentioned cutting like regulations for FDA, Vivek. While on one hand, I think he's right, because there are a lot of drugs you have to go to other countries to get, because America's such a scam. Like, in order to get like good surgeries for certain things, you got to go to Mexico and Germany. Like, America should be the best. You shouldn't have to leave the country to get the best treatments for things. So on that hand, I think he's right. But also, without being rude or anything, I think when you're a pharmaceutical billionaire who had an IPO that crashed into the ground, I don't know how comfortable I am with you trying to push RFK into less regulations. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, we need less regulations. Says the guy who would have made even more money if the FDA didn't regulate some of his pharmaceuticals. Like, to me, I don't think the future is in pharmaceuticals. There's enough pharmaceuticals. Wow, it's great. It's innovative. Like, let's get back to root level health. So I get what he's saying, because I do think that some great treatments are swept under the rug and given priority to certain pharma companies. But something makes me feel weird about like a pharmaceutical billionaire being like, let's, we got to get the regulations out of the way. And it's like, which ones are you talking about? Because like for some, I think there needs to be more. Like, I think big pharma skirted around a lot of liability shields and they should have more liability. With that being said, and the advertising and the budgets they get, it's too much. With that being said, certain treatments that you have to fly overseas to get that are proven and actually good, and the best athletes and the richest people get them, if they're that good, then we should have them in America, and get those approved. But we got to be really careful because there's going to be a lot of people getting involved, being like, yeah, let's slash all the regulations. Like, bro, his reporting, and I'll just say this too, like he speaks a good game now. But if you read his articles that he wrote from 2020 to 2022, they were okay. I mean, they weren't like super terrible or anything, but they were very normy. Like he was like, he's a pharma guy. So we voted for Trump, and Trump put RFK there. Like we want RFK at the head of HHS doing what RFK talks about, like not what Vivek's talking about. He's trying to like instill his pharmaceutical agenda into RFK. Like this is what we want. And it's like, is it though? Because I've listened to RFK talk for like 10 hours and he's never once mentioned the thing that you just mentioned. But I do know what he's talking about. Cut the regulations for, good things overseas, but don't cut the regulations for a lot of companies. Like to me, like back in the day when you drank ginger ale, it was like actual ginger. Ginger has healing properties. Like garlic has healing properties. I try to eat real foods. Like, I try to do sauna. Like I'm not saying like you can't have access to medicine, but it's like, take care of yourself with what God provided for you. And then if you get really in trouble, then you go get the pharmaceutical. Now everything's too pharmaceutical and they're dominating everything. So it's like, in some ways we need more regulations. Like not like cutting, like, or at least just like fair legality. Like if you sold a product that hurt a lot of people, you'd probably have to go to court over it. But if the pharmaceutical industry does, they have carve-outs called the National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act and the PrEP Act. And it's like, they've skirted weird laws around that are not for the people. So I do find it, these are things that I notice. And when, say, like the Bill Gates guy, Doug Burgum, like he's going to say some stuff too, and he's going to make it sound MAGA. He's going to be like, yeah, let's give some more farmland to my friend Bill over here. And you're like, what? Like, he's not literally going to say that, but what I'm saying is they know how to get their policy across. Now that Trump is the big wig, they're going to use Trump to be like, let's do this. It's like, let's cut the regulations. Yeah. And it's like, says the guy who had a massive over 100 something IPO that crashed into under $1. Like, not only, like, I don't know. Like, sounds like he wanted his drug to get approved, but his drug didn't get approved. But my question is like, what was his drug? Was it really good? Maybe his drug was better than other drugs and he didn't get approved because he wasn't in with the people. That's possible. It's definitely possible. But also it's like, I don't know. I have friends that do pharma and stuff like for their job, like outside of politics. And like, I get it because some things are cool. I just personally, it's a perfect personal preference, I don't like the pharmaceutical industry. I think they're all like up each other's asses being like, we got the new thing. Let's get the money, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all they do is just like escalate everything. And it's just like, relax, bro. There's natural remedies to this stuff. And also it's like, if we got everybody in shape, like RFK talks about, a lot of these issues that you're trying to solve wouldn't even exist. So it's like they make problems to create the problems that they made and they just keep doing it. I don't mesh well with, people like that. I don't not mesh well, but it's like, I just don't agree with them. I like people like RFK Jr., like what he talks about, not what Vivek talks about. I'm not saying he's necessarily wrong with certain drugs, but he's a pharma guy. He made $1 billion. He wants to get the drugs approved and drugs more pharma. It's like, bro, that's not make America healthy again. That's not what we're talking about. Don't act like he said that's his number one policy was getting less regulations. Vivek, that's not RFK's number one policy. It's not his number 2 agenda. It's not his number 3. It's not even top 8 for RFK. It's not top 8 for me. It's something. I think it could be top 5 or top 10 for somebody. No doubt if you do it ethically, but like to say that's your why is that your number 1? Because you used to work in the industry and you had a stock crash because it didn't get FDA approved. And you now want the FDA to approve the drug that you want. Me, I don't even know what drug it was, but I don't want it. I don't need it. Who gives a shit about your drug? You want to make money. You want to act like you're helping people. That's what everybody in the pharmaceutical industry does. Like, there's some good drugs, but in my personal, unprofessional opinion, 99% of them are completely unnecessary. Like, I want to knock on wood now, but like this year, for instance, like I haven't been sick one time. And I started going to the sauna more, right? I started working out more, going to the sauna more. Eventually everybody gets sick. It is what it is. But it's like, I felt good the whole year because I go to the sauna and I like take, like I do things in order to try to like get ahead of something. Like if I feel bad, hit the sauna, you know what I'm saying? Try to drink a pho or bone broth or something like that. And I'm not telling everybody that that's what they should do or not see a doctor. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying for me, it's like I have preventative ways of getting ahead of stuff or trying to at least. And it works for me. While there's other people that are perpetually sick all the time. And like, I need the pharma pill. I need Vivek's new pill. I need this. I need that. We need to push it through FDA faster. It's like, no, I don't know. I'm good with that personally, but I get why someone in the industry would want that. And I just don't think that's the Make America Healthy again agenda. But I'll say this too before I leave, which I probably shouldn't because it's somewhat unnecessary, but it's also what I think, and it is my podcast, so I'm gonna say it. First of all, thank you, G. Edward Griffin, for coming. I'm gonna talk to him next week, and that's always gonna be fun. I'm gonna have some real questions for him as well, make it an interesting interview and episode. And with that being said, too, like I look online and I see a lot of what everyone's seeing, right? I build off of people. Some people inspire me, educate me. We all work off each other. But I really feel this way, and I don't mean to be cocky, but it's like I really do feel like I provide some of the best analysis about what's going on because so many people are like getting mad at Tulsi Gabbard and saying, she's this, she's that, she's this, she's a liberal, she's this, she's that, she's that. I get what you're saying. She's not perfect. People are pointing out some of her foreign policy suspect, and I'm all for that. I'm not asking you to like sugarcoat Tulsi Gabbard. But my analysis on Tulsi Gabbard, I feel like is better than most people's who are acting so sure. In some ways, she plays ball, and I understand what people are saying. But in other ways, like there are deep state people that are mad at her, like John Brennan, right? John Brennan came out recently, who's a big CIA guy, and he said, she's not the right type of person for that intelligence position. She doesn't have the right type of mindset. And he started talking about Putin and Russia. They don't like Tulsi Gabbard because she agrees with Tucker Carlson and Trump on Russia more than she agrees with the intelligence communities. And when it came to Syria and the CIA programs there and Al-Qaeda and all that sort of like operations that were going on in Syria, proxy wars for the American government fighting these other countries, she stood out against that. She told the truth to Jake Tapper. She said that we were funding terrorists, essentially. You'll never hear somebody from the CIA be like, yeah, we're funding terrorists. Like, they're not going to admit that they're doing that ever. She did do that. So it's like, are there certain topics in foreign policy that she seems a little sold out on or she's playing ball? 1,000%. But everyone always tries to make it like black and white. They'll either say Tulsi Gabbard's a total sellout and she's totally in on it. And then other people will be like, she's a liberal. It doesn't matter what she says. And then other people will say that, like, I get it. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. But I truly believe this. I think my analysis on the show is the best because I'm being reasonable about it. It's like, yeah, I see where she's playing ball. Yeah, I see this. But it's like the deepest of the deep state people, they don't want Tulsi Gabbard there. And they're not just putting on a show like we don't want her, but we secretly want her. They don't want her. Let's just say Tulsi Gabbard plays their game 30% or 40%. They have people that they could put there that play their game 100%. You understand what I'm saying? Tulsi doesn't play 100%. I just told you the two reasons that they hate her. Donald Trump, I told people the reasons that they hate him. One, his policy on Russia. That's why they hate Donald Trump. Look at the second person who tried to assassinate him. He worked in Ukraine recruiting like ex-Taliban members. You think he wasn't working with certain people? And that's who tried. Why? Because he doesn't have the policy that the deep state wants in Russia. He doesn't. In other countries, he might. But the thing with Trump is he's not a total puppet. Like if he was a total puppet, he could have put a pharmaceutical lobbyist and there's nothing you could have done about it. But he put RFK. He put Matt Gaetz, who doesn't take AIPAC money. He put, Tulsi Gabbard, who all the intelligence community is not a huge fan of. Some are, some aren't. It's like he's putting in these half in, half out people that are the progressive step in the right direction, but at the same time can handle the job because they've worked in government to some extent enough or have the right thing. You look at Matt Gaetz. He flew to El Salvador to meet with Bukele. He's probably studying Bukele, who cracked down on crime, and now he's going to be the attorney general. I'm not asking you to fully trust these people or anything, but because at the end of the day, you could think what you want, and I understand why. But I do think the people that are giving analysis and they're all in, all out, and this, that, it's like they don't understand it. It's like Tulsi is not a threat to everybody. She has some friends in the government, and she has some friends in politics, etc. But she's not a total team player with the intelligence communities. That's why John Brennan's mad, because of her stance in Russia and her stance in Syria. That's the truth. That's the best analysis, not what everyone else is saying. With the Trump appointments and stuff, it's like he's appointing some good people and some bad people. But the thing is, I didn't expect him to appoint this many good people. And like Matt Gaetz, they do not want Matt Gaetz there. I'm telling you, like Matt Gaetz he's in enough and he's been a politician long enough where he can actually do it and get away with it. But he's not in so hard that they're like thrilled about it. John Bolton is legitimately not happy. Like Meghan McCain's legitimately not happy. Adam Schiff is legitimately not happy. You know, the ADL is legitimately not happy. This is not a stage where they're just pretending to not be happy. They really are not happy. They don't want 50% control. They don't want 70% control. They want 100% control. Even though Trump could be a little bit goofy sometimes and do dumb stuff and sell us out, he's not 100% controllable. And, you know, this is kind of proving that. We'll see. We'll see what he does and we'll see what happens. But I think with some of his cabinet picks, like, yeah, some of them are garbage and some of them are total puppet donor people. Others are not. And look what happens. The ones that are not are the ones that they're going to attack the most, which is why we should, in my opinion, want them there the most. That's my take. People could disagree, but I just want to say, like, looking at what everyone was saying and like they're trying to like analyze Tulsi Gabbard and whatever, it's like they don't understand because they haven't been following her long enough to know what a threat she really was during Trump's administration as a Democrat, to come out and use her power to essentially meet with Assad, which they were trying to kill. The U.S. government was trying to kill Bashar al-Assad, and Tulsi Gabbard essentially met with him and said, no, the U.S. is funding terrorists. Like that's you're not going to see that type of, like, no one, you won't even hear that on most channels because most analysts and news people, they don't even know this stuff. They just live online, talk to each other, and they act like they know everything. She did that while Trump was trying to ramp down the war, and Trump did ramp down the war. And you could say, oh, but go look up a $1 billion CIA program that Trump ramped down in Syria. Tulsi and Trump, to some extent, even though they were in different parties, they were on the same page about that. Anything Trump does that's good for the country, that's against what they already had there, they don't like. And even though he does things, and he has done really bad things, especially with the pharmaceutical stuff, like going from that to then hiring RFK Jr., I mean, that's called like a U-turn. You know what I'm saying? It would be like if, maybe this is a little bit of an exaggeration, but it would be like if Nancy Pelosi hired Ron Paul. Like, you don't see this shit because Nancy Pelosi doesn't care. You got to give Trump credit. You don't have to forgive him. You don't have to forget about it. You could do the journalism till it's fine. But you got to be impressed that he actually did a complete, like, there's no bigger 180 that's possible at that department than from where he went to RFK. That's a total 180. From Garland and the other idiots he put into Matt Gaetz, that's a huge win. The border guy is obviously better than Mayorkas. I don't even need to talk about it. Kristi Noem, even though she's kind of a sellout and a whatever, she also did a better job during lockdowns than any politician. So, you know, I'm okay with that position, even though it's not my favorite. And with Tulsi, it's not what everyone's saying. It has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. I get it. You might not like liberals. That's fine. But I hear what you're saying, but the real game she's playing is not she's a total shill or she's a this or that. She's a mixed bag, but at the same time, she is a threat to the intelligence community because she only plays a little bit ball. She plays enough ball to get there, but not enough ball for them to be comfortable. And they're not just saying this. They don't want Tulsi Gabbard there because of what she did in Syria and because of what she did in Russia. And if people don't know that, but I do. So, and we do. So appreciate you guys. God bless you. I'll be back. I'm trying to take the weekend off. I think I've been doing so much stuff, and I'm not going to complain. God is great. Life is good. But yeah, to be in my fullest form, I got to just relax for a day, and I got to watch Jake Paul beat Mike Tyson, and we'll see what happens. I say under 5 rounds if it's a real fight, decision Jake Paul if they're just punching each other, sparring. That's my prediction. Make fun of me and rub it in my face if I lose, because I deserve it.